Hey everyone, welcome back to Forward Therapy. My name is Kelly Troutman. I'm a certified hand therapist. And in today's video, we are continuing on our exploration of 4 different learning styles based on the VARK method. Today's video is all about kinesthetic learners. So all my movers, shakers, and groovers, stay tuned and let's get into it. So if you've missed the past couple of videos on the channel, we have been talking about 4 different learning styles based on the VARK method of learning. And knowing what learning style you have can be a huge advantage, whether or not you are in OT or PT school, or you're studying for a licensing or certification type of exam, or even if you just want to get better at your day-to-day job and treat your patients with more knowledge and have more information that you can retain. Knowing the way that you learn best and how to retain that information better is a huge advantage. So if you can find out kind of what study method works best for you and then figure out strategies so that you can learn and retain the information better, it's going to be hugely helpful. If you haven't checked out the last few videos, I would go ahead and start there. There's an introductory video, and then we've gone through visual and auditory learning styles and tips and tricks for those 2 types of learning style. So go ahead and check those out. They're going to be in the description bar below. But we are going to go into kinesthetic learners today. So stay tuned. Let's do that. Traditional study methods and studying in general can be really difficult for people who tend to function best with kinesthetic type of learning style, because most of the time studying practices in the traditional method are consisting of sitting in a quiet environment, reading, highlighting notes, taking notes, studying flashcards, typically quiet environments where you don't have a lot of opportunities to get up, move around, do things in a more hands-on type of way. So it's really helpful to have some examples of some different ideas that might help you when you do learn better through kinesthetic type of style. And I know that there are tons of kinesthetic learners out there. So if any of you out there watching this video today, if you have study tricks or tips that have worked really well for you, please share them below in the comments, because I've come up with a few ideas, but it is always helpful to have like actual examples that people have used that tend to work well for them. So please share those below. But in this video, let me kind of go over a few examples that I thought could be beneficial for people that learn in a kinesthetic way. One study method that I thought could be helpful, a very simple type of thing to implement, is embedding movement into your study session. So as you're reviewing notes, try pacing around the room and kind of going through the notes or the flashcards to yourself as you're doing some movement. Find ways that you can not irritate others around you and like have some fidget strategies in your chair. So things like doing toe touches or like gentle marches under the desk if you have to be sitting. Even just moving around the room and kind of changing your study position frequently, so that sometimes you're standing, sometimes you're sitting, moving, your equipment in different positions if you have the opportunity to do so. All of those types of things I think could be really helpful. So when you're setting up your study environment, you might find it's helpful for you to have a way to modify your desk setup to a standing position for some of the time versus sitting. Just little things that you can do to kind of implement some movement. Some people like to use the kind of like fidget tools, or for a while those like fidget spinner things were really popular. You could probably even just take a rubber band and kind of like wrap it around the end of your pencil, and then just kind of play with that in your fingers and play with like a rubber band. You can do some like weird little magic tricks or patterns with the rubber band on your hand, because just having movement during the times that you're trying to take in information might help you retain it better. Something that we know about kinesthetic learners is that they tend to learn best by doing. So some cases, with some materials, that's possible, like in chemistry labs or things like that. Obviously, you're actually doing things versus just reading about doing things. but it's not always possible in every topic that you're going to be studying, right? So find ways to make it more physical, more hands-on. If you can't necessarily be dissecting a cadaver to study anatomy, maybe you're drawing on your arm with a Sharpie and kind of labeling the surface anatomy. And then as you're doing that, going through the muscle active origin, insertion, action, innervation, those types of things, so that you're kind of studying, but you're also doing something at the same time, constructing something, if you will. You could use figures or blocks to kind of explain a concept, drawing pictures and labeling them in different ways. You could design a storyboard or kind of like make up a story to follow that helps you go through your notes or through the study concept. You could also film yourself making videos, like maybe that works really well for you, where you're kind of trying to explain a concept on video and filming yourself while you do that, so that you have to kind of know the material to be able to film it. All of those types of things I think could be potentially helpful for, you know, ways in which you might not be able to be actually physically hands-on, but ways in that you can make the studying a little bit more physical and more hands-on. Does that make sense? When you're studying from notes, it might be helpful to rewrite the notes using examples or making up case studies, using personal life stories or things that you've heard from other people before, because it makes it real. It makes it a little bit more hands-on when you've kind of imagined the story or you've made up a story about something versus just memorizing the facts. So you might use that in kind of rewriting your notes in a more helpful way to help you retain the information. You might even try doing things like taking your notes to the gym, walking on a treadmill carefully, or an elliptical. Just having that kinesthetic movement, the body motion might help you retain the information a little bit better if there are things that you need to be reviewing your notes for. Typically movement will help you kind of get the knowledge in a little bit easier than just sitting still at a desk. And the final tip that I could think of that could be helpful for kinesthetic learners is taking frequent movement or exercise breaks as you study. So maybe you get through a few paragraphs, maybe 5 paragraphs of a textbook, and then you need to do 10 jumping jacks or 5 squats or whatever it might be, just to get your body moving, to have an opportunity to like let that information soak in. You know, maybe you do a strategy with a friend where you're like kind of quizzing each other, and maybe you have to do, you know, push-ups or whatever as you list off the names of muscles or whatever you're studying. So yeah, those were a few of the tips that I could think of for kinesthetic learners, but certainly I know that there are others out there and probably better ones out there. So if you have come across anything that's been helpful for you or for a friend or somebody that you know that does have this kinesthetic type of learning style, please share the strategies below. That way we can all get more information and all figure out what concepts and strategies will help us to study and learn more effectively and more efficiently. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and I hope that you are enjoying this little learning style series. We have one more learning style to go, and then we will kind of wrap up on the learning styles for a little bit and move on to some different topics. But feel free, as always, to comment below any questions, concerns, comments. Feel free to like this video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to the channel so you never miss any hand therapy content. And I hope that you all have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for watching.